When people think about secrets in the bedroom, the first thing that usually comes to mind is some kind of special move, some physical technique that no one else knows, or some hidden trick that, if you mastered it, would somehow guarantee his obsession forever. And it's funny because that's where most people go wrong. They become so focused on the external part, what do I do with my body, part, that they completely miss the deeper reality. The truth is, what keeps someone truly hooked, what makes a moment in the bedroom unforgettable, isn't about a trick or a technique. It's about the connection you create in that space. Think about it. There are 1 million people out there who can do the same physical things. If it was really just about that, no one would stay. What makes you different is the way he feels when he's with you, not just what you physically do. When you strip it all back, intimacy is about the experience of being seen. It's about whether, in that moment, you are actually there with him, not in your head, not worried about how you look, not thinking about whether you're good enough or if you're ticking the right boxes. What hooks him is the feeling that this is real, that you're connecting with him, and that you're enjoying the moment as much as he is. And that doesn't come from trying to perform. It comes from being present, showing genuine desire, and letting him feel that he matters to you in that instant. Most people think they need to reinvent themselves to be unforgettable. But think about it, the experiences in life that stick with us are the ones that made us feel something, not the ones that were mechanically perfect. The same is true in the bedroom. You don't remember the person who followed a script flawlessly. You remember the person who made you laugh in the middle of it, who wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, who let you feel their passion. That's what becomes addictive. And that only happens when you focus less on the idea of tricks and more on creating connection. And here's the part many people don't realize: the greatest aphrodisiac is not what you do, but how you make someone feel while you do it. You could be doing the simplest thing, but if it's filled with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your authenticity, it will blow his mind. On the other hand, you could be doing something technically impressive, but if you're not really there, if you're disconnected, it will fall flat. That's why connection beats technique every single time. The secret to keeping him hooked isn't about becoming someone else. It's about bringing more of yourself into the bedroom. It's about showing your personality, your quirks, your passion. When he feels like he's getting the real you, not some performance version, that's when he gets hooked. Because deep down, everyone is craving that authenticity. He doesn't want a show, he wants you. And if you can give him the feeling that he has something no one else can access, the real, connected, present version of you, that's what makes him want to come back again and again. So, if you've ever worried that you need to master some secret technique to keep a man hooked, let me tell you this: the real secret is simpler, but infinitely more powerful. Stop thinking about what you need to do and start focusing on how you can be in those moments. Be present, be connected, let yourself feel it, and let him feel you. That's the one thing no one else can replicate, and that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. If there's one thing that will always stand out in the bedroom, it's confidence. Not the kind of confidence where you think you have to look like a model, or have the perfect body, or know every single move in the playbook. Real confidence is the energy you carry, the way you show up, the way you own who you are in that moment. Because here's the truth: men don't get hooked because your body is flawless. They get hooked because your energy is irresistible. And nothing makes someone more irresistible than confidence. Think about it this way: you could have the most stunning person in the room, but if they're constantly hiding themselves, covering up, apologizing for their body, or seeming uncomfortable, the attraction doesn't last. On the other hand, you could have someone who doesn't fit into society's idea of perfect, but who steps into the room with a sense of pride, Who is unafraid to take up space, who looks you in the eye and embraces the moment fully? That person is unforgettable. Confidence is what makes someone magnetic. It tells your partner, I know I'm worth being here, and I know I have something special to give. And that is far more powerful than any physical trait. Here's the secret. Confidence isn't about faking it. It's about letting go of the need to be perfect. It's realizing that intimacy isn't about performing, it's about connecting. When you stop worrying about whether you look good enough or whether you're doing things the right way, you free yourself to actually enjoy the moment. And when you enjoy the moment, he enjoys the moment even more. That's the energy that keeps him hooked. Confidence also changes the way you move, the way you touch, the way you respond. It's subtle but undeniable. When you're confident, you're not second guessing yourself. You're not holding back out of fear of judgment. You're present and you're willing to express yourself. That could mean being playful, being bold, or simply letting yourself surrender to the experience without resistance. And believe me, men can feel that difference instantly. A confident partner makes the entire experience electric. But here's what's even more important. Confidence in the bedroom is not just about him, it's about you. When you own your confidence, you're saying to yourself, I am allowed to enjoy this. I am allowed to feel good. I am worthy of pleasure. That mindset is incredibly attractive because it shows self-respect. It shows that you're not just there to please him, you're there to share something real and mutual. And that's what takes intimacy from being one-sided to being truly powerful. A lot of women believe that confidence will come once they lose a certain amount of weight, once they fix something about themselves, once they feel they've achieved some external standard. But confidence doesn't wait for the perfect body or the perfect timing. It's a decision you make now. It's deciding to embrace yourself as you are, flaws and all, and recognizing that your uniqueness is your strength. When you embody that, you become unforgettable because it's so rare. Most people are too busy hiding. So if you want to know what really hooks a man, it's not the outfit you wear, it's not the tricks you use, it's not whether you look like you belong in a magazine. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you let him see that you are proud of who you are, the way you step into that space with the kind of energy that says, I'm not here to impress you, I'm here to connect with you. That's confidence. And once he feels that, he'll crave it over and over again, because confidence is not just sexy, it's addictive. One of the biggest misconceptions about intimacy is that it has to be perfect to be unforgettable. People often put this ridiculous pressure on themselves, thinking every move has to be flawless, every moment has to flow like a scene from a movie, and that if something goes wrong, the whole experience is ruined. But the truth is, what really keeps someone hooked is not perfection, it's playfulness. Playfulness has a magic to it. It lightens the atmosphere, removes the pressure, and makes the whole experience feel natural instead of forced. And when you can bring playfulness into the bedroom, you create moments that he will never forget. Think about it, life is already heavy enough. People are stressed, overworked, distracted, and overwhelmed. When intimacy becomes another test, you feel like you have to pass, you rob it of the joy it's meant to have. But when you bring laughter, when you bring lightness, when you treat it like an adventure rather than a performance, you remind him why being with you feels different from being with anyone else. You become not only his partner, but also his escape. That is what makes playfulness so powerful. It gives intimacy a sense of freedom. Playfulness doesn't mean you don't take intimacy seriously. It means you're not afraid to be human. You're not afraid of a clumsy moment, a silly sound, or a little imperfection. Instead of freezing when something doesn't go according to plan, you laugh, you go with it, you make it fun. And do you know what happens when you do that? You make him feel relaxed too. Suddenly, he doesn't feel the pressure to perform either. He feels like he can just be himself, and that's when real intimacy happens, when both people feel free enough to let go of their insecurities. There's also something incredibly attractive about a woman who doesn't take herself too seriously in the bedroom. When you can tease, when you can play around, when you can break the tension with a smile or a mischievous glance, it keeps the energy alive. It's like a spark that keeps reigniting. He doesn't just feel like he's being intimate with you physically. He feels like he's in on a private joke, like the two of you are sharing a secret world that no one else can touch. That intimacy, born from playfulness, is what makes the bond addictive. And let's be honest, no one remembers perfection. What people remember are the moments that made them feel alive. The spontaneous laughter, the silly slip-ups, the playful back and forth. That's what creates memories that stick. That's what makes him think about you long after the night is over. Because he doesn't just remember the physical act, he remembers the emotional high that came with it. And once he associates being with you with that joy, he won't be able to get enough of it. Playfulness also shows confidence in a different way. It shows that you're secure enough not to let small things ruin the moment. You're not stuck in your head overthinking. You're not shutting down because something wasn't perfect. Instead, you're fully engaged, fully alive, and willing to embrace the messiness that comes with intimacy. That makes the entire experience real instead of artificial, and nothing hooks someone more than realness. So if you've ever felt pressure to create the perfect night, let go of that pressure. Perfection doesn't keep someone hooked, but playfulness does. Playfulness turns intimacy into more than just a physical exchange. It turns it into a shared adventure, something he'll crave over and over again. Because at the end of the day, it's not about doing everything right, it's about making the moment unforgettable. And nothing makes a moment unforgettable like the magic of play. There's something deeply powerful about giving in the bedroom, but it's only powerful when it comes from the right place. Too many people confuse giving with losing themselves. They think that in order to keep a man hooked, they have to pour everything into his pleasure and completely ignore their own. They sacrifice their comfort, their boundaries, and sometimes even their self-respect just to make him happy. But here's the truth. When you give without valuing yourself, it doesn't create attraction, it creates imbalance. What keeps him hooked is when you give generously, but in a way that shows you also respect and value yourself. That balance is where the real power lies. See, a lot of people believe that the more they do for someone, the more that person will stay. But it doesn't work like that. What actually happens is, if you give too much while ignoring your own needs, the other person eventually starts to take it for granted. They stop valuing what you bring because they can sense that even you don't value it enough to set limits. On the other hand, when you give from a place of strength, when you show him that you love to give, but you also have standards and boundaries, that's when he sees you as someone irreplaceable. Because anyone can give endlessly, but not everyone can give with dignity. Giving in the bedroom is powerful because it shows intimacy, care, and desire. But what really hooks him is when he feels that you're not giving because you're afraid of losing him. You're giving because you want to. There's a huge difference. When your actions come from fear, they feel desperate. But when your actions come from choice, they feel magnetic. He senses that you're a woman who chooses to give, not a woman who has to give just to keep him. That distinction changes everything. And here's the interesting part. When you know how to balance giving with self-respect, you actually increase his desire to give back to you. Men are naturally drawn to women who value themselves because it creates a sense of challenge and inspiration. It makes him step up. If he knows that you won't lose yourself just to please him, he respects you more. And when a man respects you, he becomes more invested in keeping you. That's when intimacy turns from being one-sided to being mutual, where both people are equally excited to give to each other. This is also where boundaries come in. Boundaries aren't about saying no to everything. They're about knowing your limits and being comfortable enough to express them. In fact, boundaries make giving even more meaningful. Because when you say yes, he knows it's a real yes. It's not forced. It's not out of fear. It's not because you're trying to earn his love. It's genuine, and genuine giving feels different. It feels powerful. It creates a deeper bond because he knows that your presence and your actions are a gift, not something he can just demand. So when it comes to keeping a man hooked, don't make the mistake of thinking that the secret is giving endlessly until you're exhausted. The real secret is giving in a way that shows your strength, not your desperation. Give with joy, give with playfulness, give with confidence, but never give so much that you disappear in the process. The moment he feels that you value yourself as much as you value him, that's the moment he realizes you're the kind of woman who is rare to find and impossible to forget. And that balance between selfless giving and self-respect is what makes intimacy not just pleasurable, but unforgettable. When people think about what makes intimacy unforgettable, they often focus entirely on the physical side. They obsess over positions, techniques, or appearance, as if those things alone could create a bond strong enough to keep someone hooked. But the truth is, the physical without the emotional eventually becomes empty. It might excite him for a moment, but it won't make him crave you again and again. What really takes intimacy from good to unforgettable is the emotional connection underneath it. When he feels safe to be himself with you, when he feels like he's not just with a body, but with someone who actually understands him, that's when the bedroom becomes something he can't walk away from. Physical intimacy without emotional intimacy is like fireworks without sound. It might look bright for a second, but it fades quickly. What makes a man hooked is when, during those intimate moments, he feels seen, he feels valued, he feels accepted. Because it's not just about pleasure for him, it's about how much of himself he's able to reveal to you without fear of judgment. And when he feels that level of safety, when he feels that he can let his guard down and still be wanted, the bond that forms is almost impossible to break. The interesting part is that emotional intimacy doesn't have to be heavy or complicated. It's not about pouring your heart out every time you're together. It's about the small signals that tell him you're really there with him. It's about eye contact that lingers just a little longer, touches that aren't rushed. The way you smile at him in the middle of everything like you're enjoying him, not just the act. These small moments tell him, I'm not just doing this, I'm here with you. And that simple feeling makes the entire experience addictive. When emotional intimacy is present, the physical becomes 100 times more powerful. A kiss isn't just a kiss, it's loaded with meaning. A touch isn't just a touch, it communicates care, desire, affection all at once. That's why someone can remember a single moment with you years later, not because of how skilled you were, but because of how deeply connected they felt in your presence. The body might forget technique, but the heart remembers connection. And here's the thing most people don't realize: a man can get physical intimacy almost anywhere, but emotional intimacy is rare. Most people don't take the time to make someone feel truly seen. If you can do that, you stand out instantly. You become the person he associates with not just pleasure, but with peace, comfort, and belonging. That combination is what makes you unforgettable. He might find others attractive, but he won't feel the same sense of home with them, because that emotional bond can't be faked. Of course, emotional intimacy doesn't mean you lose the passion. In fact, it intensifies it. When someone feels safe and connected, they stop holding back. They let go of fear. They allow themselves to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability brings out a raw, powerful kind of passion. That's why the best intimacy isn't just wild or just tender. It's both. Because the emotional foundation allows you to explore every side of yourselves without hesitation. So if you want to know what really hooks a man, don't just think about the physical moves. Think about how you make him feel when he's with you. Do you make him feel accepted? Do you make him feel wanted not just for his body, but for who he is? Do you create a space where he can be vulnerable without fear? Because if you do, then the physical side will naturally become unforgettable. And that's the kind of intimacy no one else can compete with. At the end of the day, the biggest secret isn't about finding the perfect trick, the hottest move, or the most daring thing you can try in the bedroom. The truth is, what keeps a man hooked long after the moment has passed isn't performance, it's presence. When you are fully present, when you're not stuck in your head, not worried about how you look, not rehearsing whether you're doing things the right way, that's when intimacy becomes magnetic. Because presence makes him feel like he has all of you, not just your body, but your attention, your desire, and your energy. And that is something no one else can compete with. When you're performing, you're essentially playing a role. You're trying to be what you think he wants, and in the process you stop being yourself. But when you're present, everything shifts. The way you touch, the way you respond, the way you look at him, all of it becomes more powerful because it's real. You're not trying to impress him, you're connecting with him. That's what presence does. It turns an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. And the irony is, presence actually removes pressure. So many people put themselves under this weight, thinking they need to constantly do something spectacular. But presence isn't about doing more. It's about being more. It's about actually feeling what's happening instead of thinking about what's happening. It's about letting yourself get lost in the moment, letting yourself enjoy him and allowing him to feel your enjoyment. Because nothing is sexier to a man than knowing you are genuinely there and genuinely turned on by being with him. Presence also creates unpredictability, and unpredictability keeps things exciting. When you're not focused on a script or a routine, you allow yourself to respond naturally, and that makes every moment different. Maybe one night it's filled with laughter and playfulness, maybe another it's intense and passionate, but it always feels alive because you're not forcing it. That aliveness is what hooks him. He doesn't feel like he's part of a performance. He feels like he's experiencing something that could only happen with you. Another reason presence is so powerful is because it makes him feel chosen. When your mind is elsewhere, on your insecurities, on your to-do list, on whether you're enough, he feels the distance. But when you're locked into the moment, when your eyes tell him you're right there with him, he feels like he's the only person in the world who matters to you. That sense of being chosen, of being truly seen, is what bonds him to you on a deeper level. The truth is, anyone can learn a move, anyone can buy lingerie, anyone can put on a show, but not everyone can give presence, because presence requires vulnerability. It requires you to drop the mask, to let go of the performance, and to allow yourself to be seen in your raw, real self. That's why it's rare, and that's why it's unforgettable. Because when you give presence, you're giving him something no one else can copy you. So if you're looking for the 5-1 secret that keeps a man hooked, don't get caught up in the idea that you have to perform. The real magic is when you stop worrying about being perfect and start focusing on being present. Let him feel you, not just touch you. Let him see your desire, not just your body. Let him experience the real you in that moment. That's the kind of intimacy that stays with him, the kind that makes him want more, the kind that keeps him hooked for the long run.